Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Anna, aka Brookwillow, and today I'm just gonna sit down and chat about everything I've been making these past few weeks. Okay, so as per usual, let's talk about what I am wearing here, because it is a really great sweater for spring. Not only because of the color, but also the weight of the fabric. This is the Lanark sweater by Rebecca Clow. It's a quarter zip up sweater, so you can zip it all the way up if needed. I like to wear it like this a lot in the winter. I actually just zipped my hair up into it. I like to wear it zipped completely up in the winter, and it gives like kind of a cute après-ski vibe to it. And then in the spring, when it's a little bit warmer, I can open it right up and I don't get overheated or anything from it. I test knit this for her. I think it was about 2 years ago that I test knit this sweater, and I really do get a lot of wear out of it. Definitely has more of a sweatshirt feel to it, maybe because of the zipper, but also because of the yarn that I used. I used Purl Soho's Good Wool, and I am blanking on the colorway, but it's kind of like a dusty banana yellow color, and I think it's really pretty. I will say if I were to make this sweater again, I would probably use a slightly thicker yarn. The Good Wool is more of a sport weight yarn, and I believe this sweater called for more of a DK. So I think in some areas, especially where I picked up this sleeve, it looks a little sparse. So it'd be nice to have a thicker yarn or one that blooms a bit more, or maybe if I held this with like a mohair or something, that would fill in kind of those thin looking spots. But I'm not worried about it falling apart or anything. It's just a little bit looser of a gauge, which does make it kind of nice again for spring season, not being too terribly warm. I have two knitting projects here that I've been mainly focusing on for these last couple weeks, and I'll first show you the one that you will be familiar with if you are a viewer of this channel, and it is the Viburna, and here is how far I am. It's a little hard to show off. This is the back of this sweater. I just finished the back neck area, and then I'm going to move on to the front portion of it. So I'm going to knit just this part all the way across. And as you can probably tell, it is a sweater that is knit sideways, starting with the sleeve, working its way through the body, and then I will end up just knitting the other sleeve and should be done quickly after that. It's a slow going project because it's knit with fingering weight yarn on, there's a range of needles from US 2.5 to US 4. So as you can imagine, it doesn't knit up very fast, but that's okay because the texture patterns are really easy to memorize. So I don't have to stare at the pattern the whole time. I can just kind of forget about it and knit. It's a good TV knit for that reason. It's a very mindless knit, which I've been enjoying, and I'm especially excited to wear this sweater. I think I'll still be able to get some use out of it before it gets too hot to wear this summer. There are a couple of really just like one modification I've made so far to this, and it pertains to the shoulder increase here. So my row gauge is shorter than the row gauge of the pattern, and since this is knit sideways, the row gauge is going to affect how wide the sweater is. Let's take this section, for example. So in the pattern, it has me increase a certain amount up through this portion here. And so once I got all of the decreases done, I maybe knit this much, but it called for it to be this wide. So I had to make the decision of, okay, obviously I'm going to knit until it's the correct width, so the sweater's the correct width, but do I keep increasing or do I just stop? And I was worried about it creating a weird flat line if I just stopped increasing. So I did continue to increase the same rate as I was doing. And at the same time as doing that, it helped me get more length out of it because I didn't want this to be a super cropped sweater, and I kind of forgot to take into account that my stitch gauge is also a little bit smaller than the pattern. And so if I didn't add stitches, it was going to be shorter than I wanted it to be. So this kind of helped solve the problem of making it a little bit longer while creating that smooth transition of how many inches I needed to knit for this particular section. I hope that makes sense. I know it can be kind of hard when you're not knitting on the pattern or looking at the pattern to fully understand what I may be talking about. But yeah, I would say I'm about halfway done with this, and now it kind of feels like I know what to expect, and I'm hoping that I can just continue to knit away at this and get it done here, hopefully by the end of April. And the yarn that I'm using, this is for a collab with Blue Sky Fiber. I'm using the Woolstok Light in the color Rusted Roof. Lovely yarn to work with. It's nice and lightweight. This whole garment weighs hardly anything, which I have come to find I really appreciate in a sweater. I think it holds its structure a little bit better compared to a heavier weight yarn that as you're wearing it, it kind of pulls on itself. And it tends to be a bit warmer too, because usually it means that there's more air trapped in the fibers that warm up from your body heat and keep you warm. Really liking this one. I love the little textured panels throughout. I should mention this pattern is out of Laine's Autumn 2021 publication. I've still really been in the mood to knit from books or magazines lately. I've mentioned this in my last video that I'm trying to really cut back my screen time on my phone, and so it's nice to not have to look at a pattern on my phone either. This next knitting project was once a spinning project and now is a knitting project. And it is the 3-ply 2 ways spin it to knit it challenge that Andrea Mowry is hosting. And so I've talked about the spinning portion of this in my last video. And so I'll remind you, I took a braid, I split it in half, and I spun one up using a chain ply and the other one just using a traditional barber cord type ply where you have the colors just going in 3 different directions and it blends the colors a little bit more together. Chain ply traditionally creates more of a gradient if you're using a color changing fiber because you're just plying it onto itself instead of mixing it in with other colors from other skeins of yarn. I did it in a way where it didn't like totally do that very obviously, especially compared. They look pretty similar together, but that's okay. So the knitting portion of this project is to knit up a pair of Andrea's either everyday socks or the bear paw socks. And I ended up going with the bear paw socks because the yarn turned out very thick. I learned a lot. This is actually my first pair of socks that I knit out of handspun yarn, and I feel like I've already learned a lot from this spin and what I would change in the future. Mainly just tried to spin the yarn up even smaller than I did because it did turn out to be like mostly a worsted weight yarn. Creating a super thick sock But I am really excited for these. I think these are going to be like a pair of house socks that I just wear around the house, or what I wear when I spin on my wheel. I always try to wear a pair of socks when I'm working on my wheel just to keep it as clean as possible. And these could be like the dedicated pair that I wear because they're so thick. I wouldn't really try to squish these into a pair of boots unless it's like maybe a super cold day and I'm up north or something. But yeah, I love the way these colors turned out on here though. I think it's really pretty. Now, the whole idea with knitting this sock is to alternate between the chain plied 3-ply and the barber pulling 3-ply. Why is that so hard to say? So it's supposed to create more of a stripy effect that kind of, I don't know, gradiates itself through the sock. Mine kind of just looks like it's just one color changing single yarn and not like I'm alternating between the two. So it's a little bit of a fail of an experiment, I guess, but I still really love the way it looks. And I guess that's all that really matters at the end of the day. So what I'm doing here is I'm knitting up the first pair and I'm going to do the heel of it. And then I'm going to pause and then I'm going to start the second pair of sock and do the foot and the heel. Once I finish that one, I'm going to put them all on the same cord and knit them 2 at a time. So I will just knit it until the yarn runs out. Because I spun this up to be slightly thicker, I'm a little worried that I'm going to run out of yarn to make it as long as I normally do. So I just want to make sure that each sock gets all the yarn that it needs. And then if I run out at a length that I don't really like, then I'll just use some scrap sock yarn and knit a contrast cuff on it. But because it's so thick, it knits up incredibly fast. I knit this up in like a day and it didn't really take me that long. I'm going to eke out a pair of socks pretty quick here that I'm excited to wear. Before I talk about the non-knitting related stuff I've been working on, I do have a little bit of acquisitions that I want to show you. I don't normally show off all of my acquisitions, but there's some pretty yarn that I've gotten recently and I can't not show it off. And this next one that I'm about to show you is my next knitting plan coming up here, because it is some summer weight yarn. So a couple years ago, I knit up a rib lace raglan by James & Watts using some yarn from a brand called Dando, which is manufactured in Japan. And I used their Silk Plus base, which is a 76% silk and a 24% cotton. And let me tell you, I love this yarn so much, mostly because of its plant-based yarn. So obviously it's really nice for the summer, but it also makes really nice layering pieces for underneath things that aren't itchy and kind of regulate temperature a little bit better. And I really wanted to work with the yarn again. So for the past more than a year, I think, there is a tank top that I've been wanting to make out of this Amirisu edition. It's the issue 26, which is spring and summer 2023. And the tank top in question is the Kuusi. Here is a picture. I've probably talked about this on this channel in the past. The pattern is by Mrs. Moon, which I think she might have a yarn line as well. I think it was knit from Mrs. Moon yarn. But here's a couple more pictures of it too. There's 2 different lengths of this. There's a slightly shorter length and a slightly longer length. I think I might make something kind of in the middle of the 2, but I just really like the lace work in this, and I think I'd just make a really beautiful summer garment, and the color that I envisioned I was able to find in this Doh Silk yarn again, and it's this beautiful wine color. The color is called wine, but I just think this color in the summer amongst all of the greenery really will stand out and look very beautiful. And I think with the darker color on my skin tone, I think the lace will really stand out and just be a beautiful tank top. So it's kind of surprising that they used a wool for their samples. It looks really pretty, but I think the lace will stand out even more so using this silk cotton yarn in a dark color. I'm really excited to see how that knits up, and I'm very tempted to at least start with the swatch and see how it knits up with that. But I know it's going to look good, and I'm really excited to have another top using this yarn. All right, I haven't shown off all of the Sock Squad collars I've received from Farmer's Daughters Fibers, just because I haven't had the opportunity to show them all, but I received April's recently. Yeah, it's just the April 2025 color, and it's so pretty. I just have to show you what this looks like. I've been really into these colors lately. This is like the exact color that I'm knitting that Viburna sweater in. I'll even compare. They're almost the same exact color. So I'm like, well, of course I need to knit these socks with it, so I have a pair of matching socks to go with it. I might skip the other colorways that I've received so far and go straight to this one because I just think it's so pretty. I have no idea what sock I really want to wear with it yet. But yeah, I just think these speckles here, I wonder if you can see them. And there's some spots where they're like more of like a polka dotty speckle. They remind me of a trout, like a rainbow trout. It's on their Elkhorn sock base, which I think is the same base that I have been knitting month 1 from, which I'm still working on. I think I've come to the decision that I might pause on releasing the sock tutorial for the sock that I'm working on. I just think like it might be a little too complicated of a pattern to release as a tutorial right now, and between us, I really kind of just want to finish that pair of socks, and I keep holding off because I'm saving it for a time where I can record myself doing the next step, and I kind of just want to finish them and move on to these other sock projects that I've had on my queue and just keep on going with my sock knitting. I just think this tutorial is holding me back too much. And if I decide that I want to release it in the future, I can always knit the pattern again because I have the pattern written down. I just haven't finished recording all of the steps of it yet. So apologies if that's something you were looking forward to. It's something that I may still release in the future, but I think now is just not really the time for me to do that. So because of that, all I have is the heel and the foot of the second sock left on that particular sock, and so I'll finish it up and show you all once it's all done. All right, I have one more yarn acquisition, and this is one that was very kindly sent to me from Woollinton Yarn Club, which is a very unique yarn club based out of the UK, I believe. And what they do is each month find a different yarn dyer and break the yarn up into minis, and it's kind of like an advent in a way, and you get a whole bunch of minis from one indie dyer each month. And so they nicely sent me one for a specific month, and it came in this cute little bag, and inside of it is a very beautiful array of minis that I'll try to show you all at once. But the dyer that they are featuring for this particular month is Skein Queen, which is actually an indie dyer that I have been eyeing for quite some time. The colors are very beautiful and they all kind of tie in together. So I wonder if you can get a good look at all of these. Here, I won't list off every single name of it, but I just really like how much they tie together. And I already have a project in mind that I'm going to use these for, because I think it would be really pretty to use them all together in a project. So the sweater that I have in mind is the Trove, which was from the Pom Pom Quarterly issue 30, which was August 2019. Luckily, I can just buy this pattern on its own at this point. I actually saved this pattern years ago as a pattern that I wanted to use with scrappy yarn, but since these are all like, they might even be 10-gram skeins, I think these would just make a perfect accent color for this sweater, and they all kind of tie together too, and I'll be able to use up all of these, I think, in one sweater, no problem. And I don't really know what base I want to use yet. I'm kind of thinking like an oatmeal color would look really pretty against all of these warm and cool tone colors. And yeah, that's probably what I'll end up doing, something neutral, and then all of these will just really stand out very beautifully in that particular sweater. So this is yet another sweater on my queue. I really don't know when I'll start it yet, but I'm excited whenever I do. So be sure to check out Woollinton, and if this kind of club interests you, consider signing up for it. I have a little bit of sewing to show you, but before I do that, I want to show you another mending project that I actually had finished for my last fiber stories, but kind of forgot to show it off. And I just think it turned out pretty cute. It's a very obvious visible mending project that I did on a dark pair of jeans with a hole that I blew my knee through. And here is what I did. I just thought the moon was really pretty. It's actually using the same fabric as these pants that I'm wearing right now. And I used this brown in a pair of pants and this green in a blouse that I made last year. So it's kind of fun that I'm using scraps from other garments that I've worn and putting it into this pant. So like I could wear this blouse if I wanted to and it'll match perfect, almost like a set in a way. But I also just love this look. I'll show you side by side. It's pretty obnoxious, but I kind of have a plan. If I blow a hole through this knee here one day, it'd be cute to do like a star or something, or a sun. These are going to be my weird funky jeans, but I just wanted to show that off because it's been pretty fun doing that visible mending. Okay, so let's talk about sewing. I recently finished another sewing project. Well, let me back up a little bit. I have been in a big spring cleaning mood, and I went through my big fabric bin, and I told myself before I buy any more fabric, I need to start working through the fabric that I have. So I pulled out all of the summer weight fabrics out of the bin, and I have them stacked up right on top of my shelf right here for me to just keep looking at, because the more I look at it, the more I start brainstorming projects that I could make out of that, and I'm now starting to work through it a little bit more. So one of the fabrics that I really was excited to sew with was a tablecloth that my friend gifted to me a year ago. She found it at a thrift store and knew that I like to sew things out of tablecloths. So I will go ahead and show you what I made with it. So here we are. It's a big flowy blouse because I like big flowy blouses. And I especially like this pattern on it. I think it's super springy and summery and kind of reminds me of a picnic. And the other fact that it's big and flowy means it'll help me stay cooler in the summer because it allows for more breeze to kind of flow through. I've actually made this blouse before. It's the Puffy dress by Tropical Research, and it's the blouse hack. Now, I did want to make this into a dress, but I didn't have enough fabric to do it, so I compromised and made the blouse instead. Last time I made this, I made it in like a pinstripe out of like a blue and a white in a very thin cotton fabric, and it's cute and flowy as well. However, it's really cropped in the front. This pattern naturally dips really low in the back, so I'm not worried about that at all, but when making this blouse, I made sure to add a little bit of length in the front, and that way it's not too short at all. So that is just a little bit of a modification that I made to this one. But yeah, overall, I'm just really happy with this and am excited to wear it this summer. I guess I'm just in a big tablecloth mood because the next project that I've already cut the pattern out for is also using a tablecloth. I decided that I want to make the Raida blouse by Madswick Designs. It's this really cute short sleeve ruffly button up, and you can make it in a long sleeve or you can do it without the buttons, but I'm going to do the short sleeve with the buttons. And she made it in this really beautiful kind of chambray denim looking fabric, and I wanted to make something similar. I had thrifted this 100% linen gray tablecloth years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't even know what my plan was to make with it, but finally I landed on something. And here is the fabric that I'm using. I don't normally like gray. I don't buy things that are gray or knit with things that are gray. I think I just get kind of sad when I look at the color gray. But this gray is interesting. It almost has like a periwinkle undertone to it, and I think it might look nice against my skin tone. I'm going to do like wooden buttons all the way down. I think that would kind of warm up the gray a little bit and give it a more of a natural vibe to it. But yeah, I'm probably gonna start sewing on this weekend, and maybe I'll have a new blouse to wear next week. I have been spinning quite a bit, and I have a skein of yarn that I'm looking at right now that I just spun up this week, but I don't know if I'm ready to share it yet because it's kind of an exciting project that Casey and I have been working on with Trisha from Yarn Jam. We have some exciting plans coming up for Fleece Force, which is our 2-a-day fleece spinning team that we'll be sharing with you pretty soon here, and I'll probably share what I spun up in the future with that. So that's something kind of exciting to keep an eye on coming up here. Other than that, I haven't really been spinning anything else. I do have a sweater spin that I'm preparing for coming up here, but I'm just waiting for some of the fiber to be delivered. I think it's coming next week probably, and I'll share that with you some more. I'm pretty excited for that one. But yeah, I definitely still have a lot of spinning mojo, just nothing that I can really share right now. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that I've been working on. I'm sure this is going to be a shorter episode, but that's mostly because I've been putting all of my time and effort into that Viburna sweater, so it means I don't really have a ton to share. I still love to sit down and talk about it all. I have been kind of thinking about making a video about all of the garments I've sewn out of fabric that I've thrifted, so like upcycled fabric like curtains and tablecloths. I have like at least 5 garments maybe that I've done. So let me know if that's something that would interest you at all. Anyways, I'm gonna get going. I think I want to take the dogs for a walk. It's a really beautiful day out today, so we kind of want to go walk by the water. I hope you all have a good rest of your week, and we will chat next time. Bye!